Hello everyone, I want to talk about floor and ceiling functions. So you've seen this on your homework, and when we talk about the floor of x, this is the symbol for it. This is, and it's the, basically the floor of x means that you round down to the nearest integer. So it's the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So the floor of 2.1 would be 2, the floor of 2.99999 would also be 2. And the floor of 3, well, that would be 3 because 3 is already an integer. The graph is pretty interesting, so once you learn how to write it, you should learn how to graph it. We go to Desmos, we click Start Graphing, we type floor of x, y equals floor of x, and that's the graph. So let's practice. What is the floor of 3.1415? Well, the answer is 3. We're rounding down. But what is the floor of negative 1.1? The answer is negative 2. And that's surprising to people. But you have to think about, first of all, what floor is, and then what it means for numbers to be less than another number. So on the real number line, larger numbers are on the right. So 1 is less than 2, but negative 2 is less than negative 1. So if you're rounding down, you would be rounding down to negative 2. So with that out of the way, now we have floor of 3.1415 is 3. Floor of negative 1.1 is negative 2. For the same reason, the floor of negative 1.9 is negative 2. What is the floor of 1.999? Well, it's 1. You're rounding down. What is the floor of quantity 1.9 squared? The answer is 3. What about if you square the whole floor of 1.9? There the answer is 1. So sometimes it's surprising to people that those answers aren't the same, but in general, if you plug x squared into a function, it's not the same as if you evaluate f of x and then square it. So when we're looking at like if we're looking at f of x squared, we're looking at 1.9 squared, then we're taking the floor of it. Well, 1.9 squared is 3.61, the floor of that is 3. But if you look at taking the floor of 1.9 and then squaring that, the floor of 1.9 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. So that's why those answers are what they are. Another function is the ceiling function, sort of the opposite of the floor function. The ceiling of x means that you round up to the nearest integer. So the ceiling of 2.1 is 3, the ceiling of 2.999 is 3, the ceiling of 3 is also 3. Again, the graph looks like a staircase. What's the ceiling of 3.1415? It's 4. What's the ceiling of negative 1.1? Here it's going to be negative 1 because you're going up, and negative 1 is greater than negative 1.1. Same thing with ceiling of negative 1.9. Ceiling of 2.0001, you're still going up, so it's up to 3. And in this case, for 5 and 6, it turns out that those answers are the same, but you would need to calculate that in order to be